Hello, everyone. We have closed caption below. Welcome to our chamber event jointly with Berkshire Bank. We're so happy to have Scott here today, who's going to talk to us about how to present your business for financing, which is such an important piece for everyone any day. I think right now more than ever, but it's um, a set of pieces of information that you'll need that can be useful always. And so we're very, very thankful to Scott and to Berkshire Bank for partnering with us and for being here today. If you are not yet please take a peek at the chat box. There's going to be a link there where you can join us if you would like to, and you will have access to more events like this one, plus a lot more. Check in with me if you want more information. So I'm going to pass the torch to Scott. Thank you so much again, Scott, for being here today.
Thank you, Thais, and welcome everyone. I'm thrilled to be here. I love alliteration. That's why we called this Fit Financials for Fabulous Financing, because that sounds a lot better than, let's talk about banking in your business. When I go to cocktail parties, I tell people I make dreams come true, and that occasionally gets misinterpreted. But when folks say, well, tell me more, I explain to them that I work in small business lending, and for the past 25, 30 years, I've helped a lot of folks achieve their dreams in, a startup of a business or restructuring a business, and really leveraging government guaranteed loan programs to help excel. And, part of that is, knowing, your company's financial status. And so we're going to really just try and, get involved in a little bit of talk and Q&A here. I want to again give a big thank you and and I always try to say acronyms, but MALGBTCC. I'm down in Philadelphia. Our offices for 44 Business Capital, a division of Berkshire Bank, is the nationwide SBA lending footprint of the bank. And so I'm a member of Independence Business Alliance in Philadelphia. Some of you may have been at an NGLCC meeting and met some of those folks. So just a big shout out thank you for the invite this morning. I just want to keep this, comfortable. We have the Q&A open, so if you have a question that comes up during the discussion, I'd love to, just kind of stop and see if we can answer that question as we go along, because your time is valuable, and you're here to hopefully learn something and exchange some ideas. Again, I said, I've been a veteran of the SBA lending arena for, since it's been a while, but I grew up in California. I'm a native Californian, and I worked for Wells Fargo in San Francisco in my formative years, cut my teeth on learning all about banking and financial services. And about 20 years ago, I moved to the East Coast on a job promotional opportunity, to which it was early 2001, and there was kind of a mini recession going on in there, and I got laid off 3 months after I moved across the country. So, just as a personal statement, you can overcome any kind of adversity, and that was a really super tiny one. Speaking of diversity and adversity is what I meant, is how are you doing? I'd love if you, raise a hand or post a question about, this is kind of a genuine question about, are we all okay? I have not cut my hair. You saw my picture a minute ago. I have not been for a haircut in 13 months, and I've rocked long hair before, but and I think I might just keep it long for a while, but my barber is probably not happy that I haven't been around. So, because I was wearing it high and tight for a while. So, my hair grew, and I realized that I have a new appreciation for gardening because I spent a lot of time in the yard. So um, I hope that you are all managing through this economic and health crisis, um, and that we can come here and share some stories as it relates to how we can help. Um, Quick review. There's been a lot of information in the news, and there's been a lot of money put out to small business. If you are open and operating, have you been able to get in for Paycheck Protection Program funding? Have you been into the economic injury disaster loan because maybe you don't qualify for PPP? Have you talked about state grants? Um, there's even county grants. There's also going to be a restaurant fund that will be funding directly into bars and restaurants. That's supposed to open in April. So that's another source of stimulus funding. Plus all of the personal economic benefits that have been included in the CARES Act and the Economic Assistance Act and the American Recovery Act. I think that's all of the acts, uh, you know, a lot of money in 3 acts. So, make sure that you are spending the time that you need at sba.gov, or talking to your state or local agencies about that. We have a question. So I found the first round of PPP to be very helpful, and I'm waiting to hear back from second round. That's great. I want to just take a moment to say, the second round has been slower because the SBA, you may recall in the news that a few people thought that Lamborghinis were an eligible business expense. um, there was a little bit of fraud. Um, you know, People do stupid things when they're not feeling good about themselves. So um, the government had to put in some additional guardrails and process checks to help reduce fraud. And that has slowed down the granting of the SBA number so that your lender can actually fund your loan. So um, if you hear words from your lender like hold code, or your tax ID number has an issue, those are some things that are fairly easily remedied, but you want to make sure that you're in close contact with your PPP lender so that you can rectify any holds on your approval. Um, and just to remind folks, if you started with a first round and are going second round, you do have to show a decline in revenue under the guidelines. And all of the guidelines are posted in some very easy to understand for government stuff at the Treasury Department's website under the CARES Act. And it's a great resource. There's some FAQs, and you can actually go, what is my business? How do I calculate my loan amount? Now, another good thing to know is, did you miss out on PPP the first time around, but you wanted to get in? They are funding first round and second round Paycheck Protection Program loans in this window that we're in, with the legislation currently approved through March 31st. Congress is working on an extension through May 30th, but that has not gotten all the way through the legislative cycle. So while I anticipate that to come to fruition, so everyone can kind of take a breather and know we've got another 60 days to get the money out, I do encourage you, if you have not already applied and you think you're eligible, is to work with your PPP lender and see if you can determine your eligibility. Most of the,
Sorry,
yes,
Scott, I'll just jump in very quickly to remind everyone that we have been very active in working with members at the chamber. We've called actually about 150 people, I think, at this point. So we're in the process of calling each and every one of our members to make sure that you all are all set. And, we've worked with Berkshire. We've worked with lenders who are ready to help you, and we are here to support you too. So if you have any questions about the process, if you have any questions about documentation, if you have any questions about anything, please feel free to reach out. And we also have some really great folks at the district office of the SBA who have been so helpful with idle questions, with PPP questions, and things that are specific to each individual's loan or loan process. So I'm here. You know where to find me.
Thank you so much, because that's that's also kind of, we're going to talk about our team in a little bit, and those that we want on our team. So you can always go to berkshirebank.com/PPP. We have a resource page, and we also have a portal to apply, and it's an interactive online website. So it's like, I don't hate to use the word TurboTax, but Kleenex is a brand, tissue is the product, but you can go through the site and it will do an eligibility review to tell you if you fit, so that you do have that available. So anybody who's got an open and operating business that prior to February 15th of last year, make sure that you've got all those ducks lined up and you can get in on these programs. And we'll talk in a minute about well, gee whiz, I actually did okay, so we'll cover that too. But it's almost April. The first quarter is almost out of here. You probably saw in the news yesterday that some filers are going to get an extension through May, which is nice because everyone's scrambling around trying to apply for stimulus. So who's got time to do taxes? But taxes and financial statements are what tell us how we did. So the question is, do you know how you did, and is it time to uh, I I'm bad at, and I will admit this, is I'm bad at sometimes at letting my mail stack up, because I know 99% of it is ads and things that I didn't need. But have you peeked under the curtain? You know that last year was a challenge, but do you know where you stand, financially from a profit and loss perspective? Um, did you have to write some checks to keep the business going? It's time to take stock. The other thing that you want to think about is, in the sense of financials, is not only was there a shock to the economic system last year, is there a place that I need to go, not just to recover, but to thrive? What's the outlook in your area as we open up? And what disparities, bless you, are you seeing in the marketplace? Because we have some challenges in that you will need to talk to and have stakeholder discussions with your team. It's easy to hear, if I were to tell you what I've heard in the news in the past 24 hours, it's that the rates are stable. Well, what does that mean to me? Well, it means they're not going to play around with prime rate. But other than credit cards and some business loans, do I care about that? I mean, I need access to capital. The good news is that those rates are going to stabilize for a while, but the economy is heating up. You can't put $5 trillion of money out into the economy without some reactions to pricing pressures and costs, and even obtaining talent. We are a specialist in construction lending, and we've seen lumber prices triple in some markets, and it's just we have to build in 15 and 20% contingencies for change orders and cost overruns that are coming through because everybody's on the treadmill like Scooby-Doo and not and that data is literally changing daily. So you know, it's important to remember, you know, to look forward to the outlook and start to take stock and not wait until tax day is to get in there and see where you're at. So I just mentioned, you know, what if you had a good year? You know, it's okay that you did well last year. You know, the plexiglass industry is a very obtuse, you know, macro thing to think about, is that somebody has made $1 bazillion in plexiglass. You know, people who have to source PPE have done okay. We have a portfolio of party rental companies in our business that had an inventory of commercial tents. They haven't seen those tents since June when they went out into the parking lots that they're still sitting in. So, you know, maybe 2021 is your year. So you may also be looking for capital to expand your business. And that's good too, because then you need to know, well, where am I in my business cycle to affect that financing? And many small business owners are somewhere between, you know, an idea, a business plan, an operating business, or a well-oiled machine. And so one of the things that you want to make sure that you have assessed is, where are you in your business life cycle? If you are, you know I can sell a product on the web this year and make a little bit of money. You know, we have an ERG member, and I co-chair with Vanessa Pesa and Catherine. Kate Hersey is they're both on the phone. Thank you. Hello. You know, we have an employee who does a little crocheting and making stuff on the side. You're really a stress relief, I think, but you know, maybe you're doing something like that and you need some organizational, you know, because you think you can scale the product. I live across the street from a guy who used to, he showed up, took an empty commercial spot in my neighborhood, and he is, you know, he's a tailor. He's got a little mask shop. And obviously that's another area where, you know, there's been opportunity. So whatever your business cycle is at, and, you know, whether your idea, expansion, or purchase, there's some resources, you know, that you want to make sure that you are familiar with. If you're, you know, looking for assistance in, I have a new way to do something, I want to sell a new product, I want to open a coffee shop, whatever that idea, dream is a small business development center. They generally work with underneath a university in your local market. And Thais, is there one that you recommend up in Massachusetts? Yep.
It's not unmuting. So we work with a lot of different partners here. So it would have to be dependent on particular field need, but folks can always reach out and we can direct them to the right partner. Because yeah, we have a lot of different folks who are here and ready to help.
Right. And so you might say, what is a small business development center? You know, they are folks that are working to help you create a business plan and, you know, essentially get you business ready. I don't want to use the term finance ready, because they do that as well, but it's more on, you know, from a startup perspective. You know, the next stop is a CDFI, which is a community development financial
institution.
Yes, thank you. You know, and you know, they have money to lend. they do targeted lending. So, they do microloans, they do community advantage SBA loans. They really are seed money, in early stage businesses, and they also get, clients bank ready. Um, Now you may say, yeah, that's nice, but my idea is so fantastic, I'm skipping right to the bank. Did you have a comment?
And super quickly too, some CDFIs have a technical assistance component, and the chamber does that too. So for the initial technical assistance, sometimes we can help. There are places like Leaf, for example, that we're starting to work with, and they have a TA, they house TA within their institution, and then they refer folks to the CDFI portion. So that's why, there are a lot of different places depending on the need, and sometimes they work together, sometimes they don't. But yes.
Okay, great. And the so we've kind of talked about where do you go for help, and of course the chamber is here to obviously give you some additional guidance and direction. You can certainly do some research online, um, and I was kind of going to the I'm ready for the bank. Um, and you might be, because maybe it's a franchise concept, and the franchises are a little bit different. So if maybe you're doing a stash my trash, or you're doing some other type of home health aid, or there's a lot of small franchises out there that there are banks that are willing to lend to, because the franchise concept gives you that roadmap. And if you have a sufficient equity injection into the project, then they're willing to lend a portion, even if it's a startup. What's the secret for the bank financing? Obviously, when it's a startup, they're always looking towards a personal credit history record, and that's, good, bad, or indifferent, that's one of the ways that they say, well, ability to repay is based on a historical performance. That's also where the boomerang with the CDFI comes in, because CDFIs have loan funds that don't just say, what's your score, what's your ratio, 28, 45. Sound like a housing lender. So no offense to housing lenders today. So, but those are rigid programs. So you want to make sure, as you start to develop your team, that you're finding the right folks that can advocate for you. And so, folks at SBDCs and CDFIs, and even, local banks can connect you, because it's about building a network that will support you. Now, I mentioned equity injection. I want to touch base on that. Equity injection, we're talking about cash. We're talking about, what are you putting into this idea, this operation, or your existing business? What are you funding your expansion project with? You know, blood, sweat, and tears, that's 100%. That always goes in, but it's not the only component. And when the project size gets bigger, let's say you want to buy a commercial condo for your business, because you've done well and you want to invest in that method and not pay rent to somebody else and pay it to yourself. You're going to have 5 or 10% to buy that commercial condo or building. Where do you go? Well, because cash and equity doesn't mean it's yours. That's it. So, which is funny to say, but what I mean by that is, friends and family are traditionally the number one source of capital to a small business. But how Thanksgiving already is when you go and see your uncle that you don't care for. So you want to make sure that you take friends and family, within the caveat of, how well will that work for your project? Are you comfortable with that? But that is the number one source. The second source is obviously savings, and some type of investment. The third is uh, what are called ROBS, which is a ROBS, or it's a rollover benefit for where you can use your 401k money. And Thais, there's some chamber members that are investment folks and work with retirement on your membership, right?
Definitely. We have a number of folks who do that. And again, just as a little bit of an interjection, we love to connect. Our community, I don't have to tell you all that our community is very supportive of one another. And every time a member has had a need, I've been able to connect them to another member and create an opportunity for synergy in that way. So yes, we do have members who can help you if you have questions about that.
Yeah. So, it's a unique, tax treatment where the ROBS programs can help leverage, your hard-earned time in a business where you've developed a retirement account. The cautionary tale is, it's not just, hey, I'm going to buy a business and I'm going to move this money over. It's involved, so you want to make sure that you're talking with the correct tax professional and the right uh, rollover firm, because there's several businesses that do that out in the marketplace, and you want to make sure that you're asking the right questions about what fees they charge, and what happens if you have to unwind because if you go in with a partner and then you are going to split, you have to unwind that whole thing, and that's going to cost you more money. There's administrative costs. So it's a really great tool to leverage an asset that you have that's locked up. And if you want a small business to be your retirement, then it's really no different. You're buying a stock in yourself, as opposed to going out and buying Apple or Google or Tesla or whatever. You're buying Scott Inc. And so that's what is really cool about it. I just want to be transparent that there's a lot beyond that. So you just want to really do a deep dive if you go down that road. I did miss a question I wanted to just circle back to really quick. There was and maybe a follow-up to the dollar amount differences or term differences with each of the different stimulus programs. I would recommend that you do visit SBA.gov for the high-level overview in general. PPP loans were 10 million in the first round, 5 million in the second round. And economic injury disaster assistance is a loan, not a forgivable loan. That's like 3% over 30 years, but that's low interest money. The paycheck protection programs, if you follow the rules, the loan's forgiven. So we'll wait to see if that answers the question there.
Scott, whether you could expand on that so there's Rodrigo. So he meant CDFI. So is there a difference between the channels that you're describing right now in terms of dollar amounts and term differences and interest rate differences? I will add that one.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So SBDCs generally don't have a funding source, so they're providing technical and economic and business plan assistance. CDFI programs can range from very low interest rates, to what I would say in the prime plus 3-4 neighborhood, which is 6, 7, 8%. Depending on an individual program. Terms can be 2, 5, some are even 10 years. Traditional bank financing, those are rates that are, between 5 and 7% without an SBA guarantee and a 3 to 5 year term. SBA financing fully amortized up to 25 years for real estate, 10 years for other purposes. and those max out statutorily at prime plus 275 under the 7A program. So again, there's some great resources both at berkshirebank.com, SBA.gov. If you have specific questions, you can do a Google search there. So you're not alone. We have the family we're born with, we have the family we choose, and then you really need an economic family. So that I'm throwing out there that you have 3 families if you're a small business owner, and you want to talk about and think about who's on your team. Scott is your banker. He doesn't do tax or legal advice. He can tell you everything about how everybody best practices and does things like that. But I'm not the accountant. I'm not the attorney. So do you have one? Do you need one? Are you doing something that needs a patent? I lived next to the patent office in Sunnyvale when I was a kid, and it was always this mysterious thing with a door, and the windows were it was like a library, but it looked so mysterious. So we thought, and honestly, I wonder if I had spent a little more time out front, if I would have seen, Larry Ellison popping in there or somebody like that. But anyway, you want to make sure that you're thinking about, as you assemble your economic team, who's going to be your economic advocate, who's going to help you with obtaining financing, who's going to keep your business financial statements on the rails, who's going to keep you out of some type of jeopardy where you say, I'm the cutest cafe in town, and you forget to register that name, and then somebody else opens up as the cutest cafe in town. I would then go file a fictitious statement, say, well, I'm cuter. And oh, this is getting awkward. I'm not cuter. The cafe is cuter.
No, we like it. This is great.
Okay. So, and obviously, as we've already covered today, is that, this organization is on your team too. You joined for a purpose to network and learn and exchange ideas. So, make sure that you're leveraging those. There's one thing that's come out of last year is that there's a fantastic, almost inordinate amount of talking heads now that you can listen to online. And find out information. The key is how you need to also have a team to bounce these ideas off with, because there's a lot of disinformation out there, and you can really end up falling down rabbit holes. I'm not on TikTok, but I know you can really go down some interesting paths on that. We have a really interesting long question here. I've needed to address cash flow challenges. Let's see here. I want to read this first before I respond. So,
So while you're reading, Scott, I'll
yes.
just jump in, Solomon. I was gonna type an answer, but I'll just jump in and say it. So we, Berkshire Bank has been an amazing partner to the chamber, and Berkshire Bank created a line of credit that's specific to chamber members and BECMA members. And so I can make a connection for you so you can explore that. That is something that we've definitely found with our smaller businesses, that there's just no funding available, and Berkshire really stepped up to provide that to some of our businesses. So I'll pass it to Scott now, but I can connect you, Solomon.
Yes, thank you, Solomon. The question for the group was just, that the credit markets appear to be frozen, and they are frozen because that's your reality. Is if you are in, the smaller credit buckets of, say, $0 to $250,000, you really have to hunt to find those programs and resources that will do that. We have our Revex lab, um, in the Boston area. So, and part of, their program is doing outreach to underserved and underbanked communities. Um, but you are correct. It's absolutely a challenge, when you're, trying to do, some type of debt restructure in addition to just getting the stimulus funds to, get by. So, thank you. We'll get that resource out to you, and certainly, um, we can continue a conversation, as needed. So, really a reminder here is that you have the three families, and make sure that your economic family, um, knows, your story, and that you have, strong connections to answer your questions. And to that end, they don't always have to be fee for service either. And that's, one of the great things about, groups like this, is just exchanging ideas to fire off that gee whiz. I need to, look that up, or seek somebody out. Um, all right. So we talked about fabulous financing and fit financials, and that was my lost leader here to you to come in today. So thank you if you're still here on the call. What does it mean? What's a fit financial? What we're really talking about is, are you keeping up to date with the data that your lender would need, that your, CPA, your business advocate, are you staying on top of, that economic engine? Because you know intuitively how your business is doing, because if you open your doors at 10 a.m. and you're, a small coffee shop, and you only have two sales on a Tuesday, well, why? You don't need to look at your financial statements to know that that's not good. But is it a revenue problem? Is it an expense problem? Is it, did you buy the wrong kind of coffee? Is the milk spoiled? We could go on, but the financials, will tell you, the categories in which you are spending or not earning revenue, so that you can try and pivot. Any lender is going to want to be able to see that you can extrapolate this intuitive knowledge of nobody came in on Tuesday into, the month of February. Nobody was here because there was road construction in front. Adversity can lead to opportunity. It doesn't mean because you had a loss last year that you are not bankable. But what it means is you have to tell the whole story, and you have to be able to articulate not only, the pandemic closed my business, but now we have to tell the story of, I reopened on X, and this is what happened since. Some people never skipped a beat. You know, Congratulations. I mean, that's fantastic. Um, I had some dentists call me this fall and say, I'm in trouble. Nobody's coming in for cleanings. Well, I get it. I mean, I had at least 3 panic attacks on the way home from my cleaning, and that was that was like the most pristine, face shielded, you know, type of operation. So, um, this pandemic has tentacles that have gone out into the economy in very, um, just unpredictable is probably the best word, that, the law of unintended consequences is that folks may not have expected, gee whiz, I have the sure thing business or job. If you are in food service and hospitality, you're still hurting. How do you um, extrapolate from your financials that you are going to be fine, or that if you get this additional funding, it will get you over the hump? Um, so make sure that you're able to articulate, those data points of what you see every day in your business that flow into your financials. Um, this is actually a tip for the business owner to ask the lender is, and that's why we sometimes say quick no's mean more dough. And what we mean by that is find a lending partner that will level with you, because everybody wants to help, especially in small business arena. We're not corporations. We're not just talking about numbers. I went to a networking event at Drexel University a while back, and was interviewing some MBA candidates, and the two folks from the accounting department at Campbell's were laughing about reconciling a GL general ledger to a $10,000 variance. And I'm sure everyone on the phone would say that if you had a $10,000 variance in your business, you'd probably be a little nervous or excited, or close the doors or something. I was like, well, that's really funny, because I'm a small business lender and I round everyone's financials to the penny. There's no rounding to millions in this business. So quick no's mean more dough means get your financial advocate, your lender, to tell you what they feel are the strengths and the weaknesses of your request, and have them be pragmatic. I mean, sometimes you go down the primrose path with any lender, and it's always well intended, but if you can read the tea leaves and you're not getting the kind of reaction and response that you would expect from anyone else with a service level agreement, if you just keep getting, I'm working on it, find out the root cause. Have you spread my financials in your system? Have you pulled my credit? Have you done your ratio analysis? Can you sign off on this credit? How many managers does this have to go to? Just understand the process. That gives you power to be able to make decisions on, again, assembling your financial team. Is there another? Let's see. With thawing of the credit markets, I think things are going to get hot and heavy here really quick. Um, uh, they're already talking about hot economy, a burning economy, GDP going. Well, that doesn't mean anything if you as an individual and your small business are still struggling. So while I think things are going to improve, you're going to have to continue to be diligent in your approach to financing, and just dial for dollars. I mean, don't take no for an answer. The cautionary tale, though, is there's a lot of online lenders out there that can give you very fast money, but they're typically referred to as merchant cash advances or merchant advances. They operate on the concept of, I'm going to take money out of your account every day and I'm going to charge you 30%. Don't fall in that trap unless you have a very strong exit plan. It might be that your exit plan is to refinance that with an SBA loan someday, but just know what you're doing. We have plenty of folks that have used that to their advantage, and it's gotten them through a blip. But it just comes with a lot of nightly worry, is I guess what I would say from folks that we've refinanced those out. So let's see here. Also, just wanted to talk about changes that have happened since the pandemic. Is that if you have bank financing, um, lenders are switching to electronic collection of data. And the main reason is safety and security of your financials. Is sending financials through email. That's always probably not a good thing. Yet we all do it. People say, well, just send me that, and or like when I get well, what's my password again? And I'm sending the Apple Plus password to my mom, because we're on a family share, and, but, you know, that's, that's, that's not public information. So I shouldn't be doing that. Same thing here is that you want to make sure that when you're submitting financials that you're sending it through a document portal. Many banks have document portals now, and many banks are also spreading your financials through either optical or a delivery system where your financial package is talking to the bank's financial package. Because of COVID, we had to do that and start, really pushing that forward. So, ask your lender, how do you submit financials, and, for your own security of data, because identity theft is real, and you want to make sure that you are taking steps to protect your small business in that regard. Um, Trailing 12 months, that might be a solution to help tell your story. You might have a loss in 2020, but from June of 2020, through May of 2021, maybe you can say, hey, look, the last year I can pay this loan back. That's important. So talk to your CPA, or, play around in your accounting package and see what your trailing financials look like. You can analyze quarter over quarter. The other thing that's really important this year is to make sure that you have a good handle on your projections. You may still be under a 50% occupancy restriction on your service, hospitality, restaurant business, and say, well, okay, projections are just a guess. Well, you're going to have to make a few assumptions, but what the lender is looking for is that you have thought in advance of, if these assumptions of, I get to 50%, I get to 75%, I get to 100%, or I'm open, can I resume, repayment? Can I afford this new debt? Who else do I owe? You may not have paid your landlord for 6 months because of whatever cash flow reason that you've been in. Make sure that if you have an accounts payable obligation to your landlord, that you've baked that into your financials, because at some point, the landlord's going to say, well, are we good, or are we not good? So, that's another kind of unintended consequence of the pandemic, is that if you weren't open, how can you even pay rent? I as an example, we have a client that runs a trampoline park. Well, what is a trampoline park? It's really a place to take 8 to 12-year-olds for a birthday party. And I don't know any mother taking, or father, or anybody, grandparent, or anybody else taking their kids for birthday parties indoors, etc. Fortunate for them, they have a fantastic landlord. They worked out a percentage of rent agreement, and, negotiated a path, not just to pay that off, but also, restructure their debts. So that's where projections come in extremely handy, is that you can, forecast out and make sure that you are thinking about, a return to operation. Not going to use the word normal. So, we've covered a lot of territory here. You also may be, I have these two last bullet points of credit standards and sensitive industries. If you are restaurant hospitality, you're just going to have to work harder to get people to listen to you right now. It's just not fair, but it's the economic environment of, is white tablecloth here gone? Is it coming back? If you have a good delivery program and you have a good takeout, and you might be casual or fast food or coffee shop impulse purchases, those businesses seem to be doing better and are frankly going to be looked at as recovering faster than maybe your nicer fine dining establishments. So make sure that you just continue to push back on questions about, well, why am I not okay? Why am I sensitive? I know I'm sensitive and vulnerable. So 2 words they use to describe the hotel industry right now. Do we, let's see. We got another question. Okay, so I believe your question is relating around, um, how to show debt service requirements. Um, I'm not sure I'm understanding the comment about the relationship with default, but are you saying that the lender wants to use the tax returns and not your financial statements? And I'll just kind of wait for that. See if we can.
And
Okay.
probably too, and Solomon, I don't want to speak for you, but I think there are lenders who are willing to hear the story, and there are lenders who are not willing to hear the story. And so if you can speak to that a little bit, Scott.
Sure. There are tax records, and then there are book records, and there's a reconcilement on every tax return of book to tax. So you may have a situation where you have to do some additional description to the lender to explain the differences. Uh, it, there's a lot of fresh faces in the industry too, is that you also want to make sure that the person understanding your individual situation can articulate a change in inventory from LIFO to FIFO, or whatever the circumstance may be. The key there is, if you had a change in accounting from like accrual to tax or tax to accrual, is that you're able to show why you did it. And it may be that maybe it was a 1-year event. Is there a add back that can be considered by the lender to say, well, if not for this event, everything would have been fine and repayment is demonstrated. um, you know with the SBA program, you don't have to demonstrate historic repayment ability. You have to demonstrate historic repayment ability or projected repayment ability to show that you can, because it's a cash flow program, it's not a collateral program. And if you can demonstrate cash flow, it's then connecting with the lender that understands your situation, so that you can say, this is why I can do this. I did just include some resources here. We did cover, that there's the Paycheck Protection Program. If you had an SBA loan, you may have received Section 1112 payments under the CARES Act. Those are pretty much winding up, except for the most impacted industry of hospitality, restaurant, and education. But everybody got a second little bump in February and March. And the EIDL through SBA.gov is reopened with additional funding. In the 7A and express loan space, through the end of, and I didn't update that. See, I got 2020 in there. Shame on me. They extended the program so that you can get express loans for up to $1 million through September of this year. And Express is just a subset of SBA. It's a little less documentation, and some lenders like doing that because they can use their own loan documents, that's why it's called Express. And there are some enhancements, so a lender may be more apt to approve a transaction in that bucket because they've increased the guarantee from 50% to 75% up to 350,000. And then there's no fees right now for SBA 7A loans, and and a 90% guarantee to induce your bank to help. So that's also out there, just saving the roughly 3.5% on an SBA loan for the guarantee fee is a big deal. If you had a PPP loan and you are in the process of forgiveness, remember everybody who borrowed 150,000 and less and you have not submitted your forgiveness app to your lender, it's one page. Yes, 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 yes. I was a good kid. I did everything right. I'm saving everything for 6 years. Please put it in a Ziploc bag, people. You need to hold on to that for 6 years. But you want to make sure to get that app in now because you're going to get a lickety split response with the one-page attestation and certification of following the program rules. If it's over $150,000, I do regret you're going to still have to send your data to your lender, but they're waiting for you to submit. So definitely connect with your lender if you haven't started the forgiveness process so that you can get that cleared off of your balance sheet. Ta-da!
Thank you, Scott, for your presentation today, and thank you for joining us. I know we're coming up on 1 o'clock, so if anyone has any last-minute questions for Scott, feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A function, and we can get to them before we close.
I just want to thank everyone for listening in, and the interactive participation was great. It's just a pleasure to be able to talk about something that I accidentally am passionate about. I was supposed to be an architect, so I'm an accidental banker.
We'll just give everyone a minute or so for to type out their questions in case they have any. But in the meantime, thank you to all the attendees for coming. We really appreciate. We have more webinars coming up soon. The dates aren't locked in yet, so you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer for more information on that. But keep an eye out for Thais's emails. She's always sending emails with all of the info about all of our upcoming events.
Always bugging all of you with my words. Keep an eye out. Keep an eye out. We're working on a lot of exciting things.
Yeah.
I wish everyone good health and success in 21, and please let us know if we can be of assistance here. Just we're happy to direct you. This is Gimbals. We can send you to Macy's.
Cool. So it looks like no one else has any other questions. If you do come up with a question after, feel free to send it to Thais or me, and we can direct it to Scott. But yeah, Scott, I just want to thank you again and the whole Berkshire team for helping put this together. We really appreciate you being here for us and for our members today.
Our pleasure. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Yeah, have a great rest of the day, everybody. Bye-bye.